We've reached 24.4 and we haven't loaded the rigs yet.
Wow.
We think we'll get, well, the naval architects and us think that we could, with the right conditions, get 28 to 30 knots out of her.
That is so fast for a boat of that size, isn't it?
The thing is, when you're sailing at 16, 18 knots, you don't, it's kind of like, oh yeah, what are we doing, 12?
Yeah.
It's just so comfortable.
That's true, actually. She is a performance yacht. I think, you know, when you look at her, because she's so beautiful to look at, you forget actually that if you cut her open inside, the technology is there for her to perform and go fast.
And I mean, I've sailed Black Pearl with Captain Chris, him and I on watch, and obviously we were full crew, but it was 5:30 in the morning. We got the anchors up, all the deck crew went back to bed. We were on the way from Crete to Cyprus. There was a storm, which is why we'd anchored the night before. We didn't want to be out, you know, in the middle of the storm in the dark. It was blowing 60 knots to 65. The seas were 5 to 6 meters. And we were reefed and doing 16 to 18 knots, the two of us, with a cup of coffee and the music playing in the yards. And we jibed 3 or 4 times, put some sails up, took some down, and we just cruised to Cyprus doing 16, 18 knots. No one else was out there. But not surprisingly, the seas were being blown flat because the wind was so strong.
Really?
And she was just cruising, and everyone else was asleep.
That's
like
amazing.
This. And that was one of my first jobs. I remember thinking, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is amazing. You know?
But also how nice to actually get to experience her doing what she can do, because it would be so easy to just pot around.
Yeah.
You know, not utilising her as you could push her to be used. Yeah.
Well, I think, and then you get to that, I guess the more important thing is that of all her trips, 86% of them have been made under sail. Now, I don't think any other sailboat sails as much as Black Pearl does.
No.
And we've completed one trip from Montenegro to Amsterdam, and 95% of the trip was under sail.
And why is that? Is that because she's so good to sail and because the crew are so enthusiastic about it?
Well, the crew are super enthusiastic, and the captains compete with each other to see who's done the most sailing whenever they're on rotation. But, you know, you can set the sails in 6.5 minutes, all of them, 2,800 square meters of sail.
6.5 minutes?
Yep, 6.5 minutes. Pre-program, hit the button, 6.5 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
So it's easy.
Yeah.
You know.
So the best thing about being a super yacht captain, I think, you know, for me, it's the thrill of responsibility. You know, I still get a buzz from joining the ship. I get a buzz from leaving the ship. You know, completing an ocean passage, or, you know, completing a really challenging docking maneuver. I still get a buzz from this. I get a buzz from when the guest or the owner leaves and says, "Thanks very much, Ollie, we had an amazing time." And whilst, again, you know, as I mentioned, it's very much credit to the team. You know, you as the captain are representing the team. You're representing the boat.
You're running the ship, literally, and all the people.
And I take great pride in sort of passing on that thanks to the team. I would say that's probably the best part. And you know, I'm very proud of what I've achieved, and sort of proud of what I'm running now. Every time I step off the boat and I look back, you know, I still get those sort of jitters of, wow, this is very cool. You know, is that really my job? And that's exciting. And I think,
that's
you know,
great.
I hope I never lose that, because I think the moment you start to lose that, then, you know, you've got to reconsider, you know, what you're doing. But right now, you know, I'm still hungry for success, and it still excites me, and I still get a buzz from what I do.
From starting the business to now has been incredibly easy, weirdly.
I love that.
And I think that's...
Touch wood, it stays like
well,
that.
yeah, I say from here to now, because now we've got to go to the next stage. So between starting and now, we've been lucky enough to... over our years, we've forged these amazing relationships with people in the industry, and I think once we've come ashore, we've taken that profit, if you like, and so people have entrusted us. We've been recommended to clients, and so the work has come quite easily. We're running 6 big projects at the moment, which has allowed us to grow the business quite quickly. without worrying too much about our P&L going
yeah.
forward. And so we've gone from working in Lee's barn, just the two of us, to, I mean, we're not a huge company, but we're 12 full-time employees and a few consultants as well.
In 3 years, that's
it is,
and
growth. Yeah, and we've been lucky enough to run in profit every year since we started. Amazing. However, now, because all of that goodwill that we've had before, we've still got it, but we've taken it, not taken advantage of it,
taking most of the profit.
Yeah. we've made the best of that, but now we're at a stage with the company where if you're not growing, you're going backwards. So now we've still got to grow. We still need more projects, and so the challenging bit now is how we do that. How do we still keep the projects coming in? How do we keep them profitable while still growing?
And staff all those projects.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
And then how do we find other revenue streams?
Yeah.
So most businesses, I think, find the first 3 years incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
We found it incredibly easy. I think we're going to find the next 3 years more difficult.
A lot of people have heard of us, but quite a few people don't quite know how to engage. They don't want to ask. So somebody jumping ship, moving to a new one, can tell our story for us.
Yeah.
And those are ambassadors for Seakeepers, really.
I think in this industry, that is the most effective marketing anyway, is by engaging with the crew, building a relationship with them and finding their interest and passion in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then when they leave, they go to the next vessel, because it's so closed in the sense that you can't, like you say, you can't really talk about particular people or vessels. So the crew that you work with are probably your best adverts.
They are.
Yeah.
And we love, when we go around all the boat shows and the industry events, we'll always attend events with them, have a few beers, glasses of wine, and listen to their stories.
Yeah.
Because they've been out at sea and they've seen things that we can't see, because they're our eyes.
Yeah.
The crew are our eyes out there. And they're the people that say, I've been going over the same patch of ocean now for a few years. It's changing. We're noticing less marine life, less biodiversity. We're seeing garbage patch. We're seeing what they're seeing means we can react.
Yeah.
So without them, we can't do what we do.
This period has been a huge shift in dynamics within the sector, within design, within the market. Obviously having COVID was a massive disruptor, but it also then ended up being this explosive opportunity in terms of the market. But it also changed the way that people approach their yachts completely. Going from yachting as a status symbol or yachting as something kind of flashy to show off to your friends, it became, okay, well actually yachting is the opportunity for me to be with my friends and my family in a very intimate setting and have that level of privacy and live on board and work on board. Things like Starlink, even in the last 2 years, have totally changed the landscape of design as well. I spend a lot of time talking to yacht designers about the developing trends in their segment and how people interact with their yachts, interact with the environment around their boats is obviously shifting completely and has shifted very dramatically. One of the biggest things that we see is this sort of the accumulation of businesses by one another. There's so much consolidation going on, and that's really changing the landscape of every sector of the industry, whether it's yacht management, brokerage, and even media. We've just seen a major acquisition from a much bigger company for one of our competitors, and that changes the landscape of what we're doing. Ironically, it's actually been very positive, I think, for us, and hopefully will continue to be, because we're seen as being very independent, and that's something that is deeply important to Marine and myself and all of our management team and all of the staff at Super Yacht Times. So
this is a clinically grade, high accurate ECG based sensor. So this is going to provide the crew, but also for me to work with the crew. So we're going to be looking at.
So what information would you get from that?
So it's all the physiological metrics. So we're going to be looking at stress. We're going to be looking at balance,
which can be high,
recovery.
I'd imagine.
Exactly. And as I mean, there's a certain amount of stress that everyone knows. I
Yeah.
mean, I know when I look at my data after this, I'm sure that the stress level is going to be high, but it's good stress. You know, it's what makes you perform.
Of course.
But it's just giving us that picture of, and I can actually get the data of the whole crew,
Right,
as
that's
a whole,
interesting.
which is, you know, when you're looking at a team, that's quite amazing to see actually what that yacht. Everything that's going on board, the stress, the lack of recovery, the sleep. So we can look at all of that data, and again, it's personalised. So, and that's what everything that I'm doing. That's what I love, because it is very personalised to each person.
You're checking out Facebook pictures to see if they like to go and get drunk.
Stalking Instagram, stalking Facebook, and all that sort of stuff. It's not really the sort of checks that kind of fly. But I went to numerous recruiters and said, look, would this be a thing? Like, you know, if you could go to your clients and be there, like, look, we've done all of our normal checks. We've also done all these criminal checks, and checked all their certificates and everything like that. This person is good to go. Is that more of a unique selling point for you? And every single one went yes. If I provided you with an integration into your system where crew members could easily share this information direct into your systems, was this going to be a thing for you? I validated the idea before I'd even hit go on it.
Yeah, sure.
To make sure that if I developed a product, people were going to buy it.
For me, it would be when we won our first Queen's Award and we went to Buckingham Palace and attended a cocktail party, drinks party, and the Queen was there, and Princess Anne had actually particularly highlighted our company as she wanted to come and speak to us. And I think at the time we didn't quite comprehend what was going on. How many years ago was it? 10 years ago?
Yeah, 8, 9, 10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, so we're obviously quite a bit younger, and just, I don't think at the time the scale of what that meant and being at Buckingham Palace sort of hit home. But yeah, that was probably my proudest moment and probably my best memory.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It was surreal.
Actually, no, also because we've won 2 Queen's Awards, one for the company and one for Compass Software. So obviously winning the second one was also amazing, but I didn't get to go to Buckingham Palace, sadly, because of COVID.
I've been twice, haven't I?
Yeah, and you met the King, which was obviously very special.
It was, and also obviously it's not called the Queen's Award anymore. So we won, like Liz just said, the second one was the last one that the Queen issued. So, and that was for Compass, so that was quite special. And also being in the room with her was amazing, and just doesn't feel real that we actually did do it. And then for business-wise, I'd probably say getting the first users onto Compass, something that we came up with, and that obviously Stuart in the office, the head of development for digital, has helped build. That's pretty special. Something that we've designed and then someone is using is a very amazing feeling.
The word reporting is literally in the acronym CHIRP, but I think let's think of it more as sharing. Right?
Yeah.
And I think rather than whistleblowing, it's very much a more positive kind of conversation, because this community of incredible professionals who are working all over the industry, all different types of boats, all over the world, there is a tangible desire to go, oof, that happened to me, and actually I don't want that to happen to my colleagues, to my friends. And on the flip side, there is a real desire to actually learn from our colleagues' experiences on different boats.
Yeah.
And all CHIRP really is just a forum, a focal point with that layer of confidentiality on top, where there is just that, it's a tool. That same conversation that would happen in the crew bar, it just happens on a much broader scale, and hopefully we can have more industry-wide change rather than just that kind of smaller practice that we might have.
Yeah, because the conversation that happens in the crew bar being had in CHIRP hopefully means that other people will learn from it, which actually increases safety.
Yeah.
But yeah, I decided that yachts was a pretty cool way to go, that one individual could own an asset like that. And, you know, you'd pull into a lot of these places. In particular, I remember in St. Thomas in the US Virgin Islands, and you'd see Rising Sun and all the guys down there, and, you know, just you get some red rain and then straight out on it. And we just didn't have that on the commercial side. And just that level of luxury, I always knew I wanted to be part of it. That mixed with the stories, and yeah, I could see it was a.
And you've done your time in the commercial world, and
yeah,
it was time to get on a white shiny boat.
Yeah, I was certainly advised, look, get your sea time, because when you're commercial, every day counts towards it. So I literally got my ticket, did a couple more trips on board, paid off the training agreement, and then moved over and did a relief trip on a 90-meter as second mate. And then moved over and fortunately got signed up for the build of Dilbar.
Yeah, great first gig.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
Baptism by fire.
Exactly.
Two years over in Bremen and Las Vegas sack, as we say, you know, but that was really cool. Great turning point.